sounds like it opens up a can of worms.
That's what was argued. And the Arizona Supreme Court kind of dealt with it by saying, hey, the legislature needs to amend the statute. So that was brought up.
I need to start paying other people's property taxes.
Yeah. So now here's what's interesting. Under the general adverse possession statute, some people will prove, hey, I paid property taxes. It's actually not required. And so you don't have to prove. It's definitely a factor that can affect those cases, but it's not an absolute defense to say, hey, if you have a boundary wall dispute, you can't say, well, they didn't pay, all of my property taxes over the past 40 years. They may have utilized this property as their own for 40 years, but that would not work, is what I'm saying. So, so property taxes are a factor, but with respect to this forgery case, it's not a factor, it's an element. So that one you have to prove. But the whole idea under that's, if you read the statute, you think, well, wait a minute, you have to have a recorded deed. So nobody probably really thinks about it from a forgery. That's what makes the case so interesting, is the forgery element changes the whole thing. And then you kind of start thinking, wait a minute, what if somebody did it to me? Right? Like forge a deed. I didn't know about it. Only 5 years goes by. And then they go and steal my property. So it's a little bit frightening. But yeah, I think, that's why I put in the article, like, make sure you're signed up for that alert service. Make sure you're paying your own property taxes. And you should, hopefully be okay. But yeah.
Do you know if the recorder's office has any plans to change their behavior in recording deeds without asking for identification or proof that you have a right to record an interest in a property?
Well, I would hope the notarization would, part would help with that. But yeah, I don't have any insider.
But notary isn't going to confirm whether or not you have a right or interest in a property. They're just going to.
No, but they verify
your signature.
They verify your ID.
Right.
Usually, I mean, at least every time I've ever used one, they verify my ID. Have you guys ever had them not verify your ID?
No, but I've heard of homie hookups before.
Okay. Well, okay, so this is a good segue. So let's talk about now a few more minutes. Let's talk about. Am I out of time?
No.
Okay. A few more minutes. Let's talk about the state, the Cameron Jones case, because that's like another, I think, pretty remarkable development. I didn't talk about that much at the forum because it's kind of more residential. I didn't want to get into it too much, but that case is really interesting because we were already familiar with some of those cases because we handled them. So what happened in State v. Cameron v. Jones, and it's actually a brand new case, so we don't know how it's going to ultimately play out, but it's not a very good sign when the Arizona Attorney General files a 70+ page RICO complaint. I would suspect that means they have an extremely solid body of evidence supporting the claims. But generally what happened there was, I think the ultimate cause was COVID. So what did really COVID cause? Pretty much an immediate, like 50 to 100% appreciation in real estate prices. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, all these people had equity. And a lot of it. So that created an opportunity for these predatory investors. And maybe they were doing this prior to COVID, I don't know. But it seemed to me that created an opportunity for all these predatory investors to say, oh, I have a great idea. We're going to manipulate homeowners in distress that are not sophisticated. So what these people would do is, if there was a foreclosure notice, they would like immediately knock on the door and engage in deception. Hey, we're a charity with Arizona Helping Hand, or we're a foreclosure relief assistant person. We're going to help you save your home. And then the homeowner would be, completely distraught. Like, oh my God, I'm losing my home. What? What's a foreclosure mean? Like, they didn't know what was going on. And then the predatory investor, the perpetrator, would say, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to give you 10 grand. They might say, I'm going to let you stay here for a couple of months. Everything will work out fine. And then they would have them sign contracts where, let's say the homeowner had like 400,000 in equity, in extreme cases, they might take like 20 grand and not even be aware that they're signing over title. So they would not even be aware. The contracts also had like one-sided or unilateral cancellation ability. So if the investor couldn't flip it for a profit, they could get out. Incredibly, as a part of that case, lawyers or homeowners were filing, these investors were filing bankruptcy filings on behalf of the homeowner that were bogus to stall the foreclosures. They were filing bogus probate documents to stall the foreclosure to buy more time. But here's what's really interesting for all of us, because it's kind of a warning shot. So lawyers were named in the Arizona Attorney General complaint because they were carrying out the evictions. So these people who weren't aware they were signing away their property rights, all of a sudden now they're getting evicted. They're like, wait, what? And lawyers were behind that. Title companies, I'm not going to say any names, but at least one, title company was named. So I think from the Attorney General's perspective, she was saying, look, all these other ancillary professionals that gave the veneer of legality to these transactions, I'm bringing them in. So it's kind of a warning shot to lawyers, agents, notaries, title officers going forward. Like Phyllis's sheet right here, you want to be really mindful. You can't look the other way and just, oh, this is a good profit source. If there's indicia of fraud, you need to say, I'm not going to work on this. If somebody, so the warning shot to me, and I would never do this anyways, but in light of the case, what I would take away from it is if someone came to me and said, I want to evict somebody, and I'm clearly aware from reviewing the documents that the landlord or owner defrauded the tenant or occupant, and the eviction is based on that fraudulent transaction. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say I can't do this. I can't touch this. So I would never do that anyways. But if you do that, you could be a part of a future prosecution. Interestingly, right now the case is only civil, but it's kind of all strategy. I think the case cites to a bunch of criminal RICO statutes, and
was it just one entity that was behind it?
It was numerous. The caption is very long. It's more than one entity. It's more than one investor. It's a lot of different defendants. So to my knowledge, there's no criminal AG complaint as of today, but my understanding is there could be one, and so maybe we'll see what happens with it. But it's definitely a warning shot to the real estate ecosystem. Here in Arizona, kind of like sets the tone a little bit, like a little bit of a crackdown atmosphere. But yeah, I think that one was really created by COVID, probably because all of a sudden all these homeowners, and unsophisticated homeowners weren't even aware that they may have thought, oh, their house is worth 150 grand, it's worth 300, and they still think it's worth 150. And so it kind of, that's where it kind of gave this these opportunistic investors.
So before you end,
Yes.
there's one more.
Yes.
Did the mother sue the daughter-in-law did she bring criminal charges for her forging the deed? Can she go after them?
Well, I don't. So I don't know the answer to that because I just read the opinion.
Could they? Should they?
I don't. It's a really great question. I just knew that in the case the issue was forgery. I don't think the reading between the lines. I'd have to go further into the case, but I don't think the daughter-in-law admitted to the forgery. So I think maybe it was just like a legal issue, like, hey, if this is a forgery, but I'd have to go further into the facts.
He said, she said.
Yeah, I'm not that sure. I just read the Arizona Supreme Court opinion, so that's a good question. All right, so we'll just finish up here, but yeah, so just some common title claims, prior forged or fraudulent deeds, recording mistakes, easement and access errors is a big one. Boundary disputes, we talked about that. Missing errors and probate irregularities. And then we had this case study, and I just kind of went over it, but it was basically, yeah, equity stripping fraud scheme targeting distressed homeowners. We like I said, our firm handled